Rick Saguil.
And action. Hey, Jay, this is Kirk again.
And action. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick, and Anna had a question about what my prophylactic lifestyle is. Prophylaxis to prevent disease. But if this is the first time you're finding me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the survive button. Subscribe and survive. So I put here 103.5 because that's a radio station in Illinois or Chicago, but it is also the age that I seek to attain. Is that you have to have a target. So if you're not thinking about it, that's fine. If you're 20, it seems like an eternity before you get to that problem. But I think with my middle-aged people, 40, 50, and 60, the diseases I'm finding now they started back in our 20s and 30s. I put down for Anna my suggestions on prophylactic lifestyle. This is what I do. And I don't care about divulging my inner being to anybody. Check out my quantum shift. So spirituality-wise, I think it's very important to have a spiritual practice. I used to ask that question to a lot of my patients, but I had to rephrase it because I think a lot of average Americans don't understand spirituality. If you look at all the ancient cultures, they always have a grounding in spirituality. And I think it's important if we're going to try to get to long health span, long lifespan, and not be connected to a dialysis machine or a cane or a walker. I think it's important to include that. My practice, being Catholic, I was brought up Catholic. I still practice Catholicism, go to church every Sunday. There's also a framework of mindfulness practice. So mindfulness meditation is one form of meditation. This is 478. This was a picture I took when we were saying goodbye to my mom before she died. At the time, I was learning from Andy Weil, who developed this breath exercise of 478 breathing. It has stuck with me since then. I trained with Herb Benson at Harvard, also became a yoga instructor. So there's different forms and different practices in addition to martial arts. I think it makes you practice some form of mindfulness. I also have a psychologist that I see. I think it's very important to find a psychologist or a behavioral health person, coach that you will bind with and keep with you forever. I think it's part of the whole person process. The other part is nutrition, but over the decades it has changed a little bit. Mostly because as we age, things change and become more obvious. When we're younger, I think we have so much hormone in us circulating that if you go off track or eat unhealthy, you can still digest crap, but as you get older, all that stuff accumulates and you can't digest that stuff anymore, and you manifest disease. So I use time-restricted feeding, and it's kind of intermittent fasting, I guess you can call it. I think a better name for it is time-restricted feeding. So I usually eat from 12 noon until 8 p.m. and that's it. And I try to do that the majority of my years. I've been manifesting that for at least really strongly for about a year and a half. And in addition, I went vegan 2018, November, I think, when a patient of mine had a heart attack in room 2. He was evolving. So I have continued on, mostly because I thought vegans were being bullied by other people, so I wanted to stand in with them. I think there's benefits to picking your dietary practice of choice. I hate to call it a dietary restriction, but that's what it is. Whether it's the DASH diet for hypertension, Mediterranean diet because of culture, ketosis diet because you are an athlete perhaps, or diabetic, paleo diet. The macrobiotic diet, there's a whole bunch of different ways to practice, but you have to pick one instead of just saying, I'll eat what I eat, especially now with COVID. A lot of us that don't cook, my wife cooks, but I still can maintain veganism. So you have to pick something and stay on it. Pick a cause, stay with it, continue practicing until that cause doesn't serve you anymore. So it's just too easy to not have a nutritional practice and just eat everything in front of you. and everything in front of you will be everything convenient. Everything convenient is not healthy. Since I had communication with Walter Longo, he's the idea generator behind the fasting mimicking diet, 5-day fast. I have loved the event, and it is an event because it's a concentrated pulse of fasting without going pure water only diet. When your body is so used to crap, which is going to be high glycemic index carbohydrates, simple carbs, or sugar, when you take that away, every part of your body will retaliate. Most of my athletes know that when they are trying to push the envelope with personal records, if they fall off the rails and go into simple carbs, high glycemic index carbohydrates, or sugar, their performance will taper off. In fact, they'll probably be hindered. So my athletes have already figured it out. But some non-athlete patients of mine don't get that privilege of experiencing and fine-tuning what helps with their metabolism or harms their metabolism. When you feed your Ferrari high-end fuel, that thing will take off like a Ferrari is supposed to take off. You feed a Ferrari gasoline from a lawnmower, it'll run, but you're missing the point of having a Ferrari. So, what do you want to ride, a lawnmower or a Ferrari? So it's important to have a nutritional practice and then maybe modify it if it doesn't work, it doesn't serve you. If you can't figure that out, get a coach. Next would be supplements, and I want to show you this. I was going to show you my supplements I was taking today, but this is my freaking supplement. So I have my dailies that I take, and it has evolved over the last couple of years, but my dailies will be total omega-3, magnesium, turmeric, vitamin D, and now ginkgo. So those are my go-tos. I've got other ones that I do unboxings for, and sometimes I'll find an unboxing, I give a thumbs up and say, I want to add this. Sometimes I'll give a thumbs down. Well, I've only given one thumbs down, but I find any other ones that are very useful, but I just can't fit them in. So there's seasonal ones like butterbur, nadochromyl sodium, sometimes echinacea. So it's wintertime, rhodiola, ashwagandha, sometimes 5-HTP. So there's seasonals, and then there's also rescues. I have fibromyalgia and atrial fibrillation. There's rescues that I use for injury because I am an older athlete. I hate to say that, I'm an older athlete. In fact, before I go on, I wanted to show you, I put this in my last video, but this is me 1982. And this is me kind of recently, and you can see the fat deposition's a little bit different than here. So this is where I am, especially after COVID. I gained 10 pounds, but I'm gonna knock that bullshit off. This is where I'd like to be. I don't know if I'll ever attain that again. But again, if you don't have a goal, I don't think I'll ever get to the waistline I had back then, but why not try for it? So if you have no goal, then you say, I'm too busy. Well, guess what? You're gonna be too busy and you're gonna go to the hospital because you're gonna have a heart attack or a COVID infection. So get unbusy. Finally, activities. So I always try to embrace activities, and I am a bodybuilder from before, as I showed you when I took my 2 titles in bodybuilding, 1982. So I love resistance exercise. Now I don't have the time to do the resistance exercise I used to do back then. I think like 2 hours in the gym. Resistance exercise will always be in my heart, and I love the pump I get. One of my patients, Mike, did ask me what I do for biceps, and I don't really do much because I put so much investment before that it's very easy for me to do alternative exercises for big body parts, and then my other areas just pop up and get engorged. That's weird. Or just get swollen. That's weird too. Sorry. Cycling, running, and swimming are cardio activities. I try to combine 2 in 1 and do HIIT training. That's kind of like my cardio. And occasionally I run with my son and do sprints at a track. But because I maintain my resistance in the form of high intensity interval training, I can compete and do sprint work with my son, but I can still keep up with him. So one of these days I'll probably switch over to more cardio than resistance, but I just love doing it, the resistance part. But cardio does have its value, especially with cardiovascular fitness. And then hiking. I think that hiking is not really a sport, but because of the nature of therapy you can get with hiking, and the aromas you get from pine, the slowing down you get with just being in nature, and then taking advantage of our national parks, which are fantastic. I went to Yosemite. So the reason I'm so hot to trot with Everest at 60 was I always made myself a promise to climb Mount El Capitan in Yosemite when I turned 40. I was big into rock climbing. That kind of came and went. I didn't do it, and I'm very remiss for that, because 40 is supposedly when guys get old. So 50 came, I blew it again. So I am sticking to my guns at 60. I'm going to be at Everest Base Camp at 60. I'm training now by kind of taking on the challenge of Colorado. If I don't make it to Everest, I don't make it. But I think it's important to keep that goal and then say you did so, because we have to inspire the next generation. And if they see us just getting fat and having disease and they have to take care of our asses, come on, that's not fair. So we'll see. So, and last but not least, hugging. I think there's something, and COVID has demonstrated this, we can't high five, can't hug anymore. I think there's value in a serotonin release, just like it is with sleep. As you noted, I didn't talk about sleep here, but I think sleep is so underrated. And there is data that says that the less you sleep, the higher the chance of cancers and some mental disorders. So I think we poo-poo sleep terribly and love terribly. That as guys, we are told be tough and don't worry about stuff, don't express emotion. But I think that's why we die early. So I think hugging is very important when the time comes with your family members. Or when we're allowed to go out in the community again and do that. But regardless, having serotonin, having camaraderie, having a communing with other people that you have a commonality with is really important. Facebook kind of does that. Social media kind of does that, but I think there's more to the physical part of it. So, and I hope this gives you an idea about me. If you guys have any comments on what your primary objective is for healthy lifestyle to make you live till 103 or whenever it is you want to live till, put it down in the comments down below. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next video.